Well, hello adventurers, and welcome to another video. I'm going to focus on the humerus section of the arm, or the humerus bone, and the forearm as well. So this is essentially the left arm. This is what I've been exercising here. It's been great fun. I've been using simple shapes and forms like you should try at home, because this works all the time. And what I'm trying to understand is the function of the forearm and how you've got the radius and the ulnar, two bones in the forearm, and how they rotate overlapping one another. It's quite important to know that when it then comes to building that muscle. So I'm just going to start with this to get you going, okay? I want to show you an example on another page. So it's also good for you at home. For those of you, you can use yourself as reference of your forearm. Good way to start is probably at this angle. So a nice relaxed pose with your palm facing up. So we're going to show a little bit of perspective here, going this direction. Okay, start with the shoulder. Now this would be going at this angle, as you can see on the previous page. If you want, you can taper in at the other end. Tapering as in it just narrows the width of the box. Think about perspective. If it helps, you can add in a little circle and a line to get you going, and then create a line up here, okay? And that's where the palm will be, but we may slightly change those as we get on. I want you to just, again, draw a box. We're not thinking about muscles in this video, because in this video we're going to link it slightly to the soft and hard forms, in a sense that we're going to be twisting this forearm. Now I'm only just demonstrating you here a relaxed pose. Try to think the tubes as the joints, the mechanisms where things are allowed to rotate. So essentially try to think a very simple breakdown, almost like a robotic style, mechanical sort of engineered arm. Because that's all it is at the end of the day when you break it down. Okay, I'm creating the forearm here. Okay. And with the palm facing up, the thumb of course is going to be on the outside. Also draw the palm in that perspective. Okay, so you've got the darker side here representing 3D form, then add in the thumb, and if you want you can decide to do either a spatula for a hand or so forth. The fingers aren't that necessary in this particular exercise. Okay, if you want you can then pinpoint where you want the bones to go. You've got the radius and the ulnar. I'm going to draw these two. I think the radius is on the outside of the body. So being the left arm, this is the radius on the outside, the ulnar is on the inside. Of course that's ulnar here, radius here. It can be handy to know the names of these bones. Don't need to know every bone, but okay. And again, you can create another tube you can add in there to represent another joint area. Just connect those two together. That should be enough to go on. So we've got a relaxed arm pose. So this would help somebody who's just simply wanting to draw three-dimensionally using different shapes. Okay. Now let's try this exercise again. That's number one, simple enough. And let's do number two. Same again, because we want to see our drawing evolve and show the sequence of how we're going to show that arm twisting. Also, repeating the drawing is going to help you cement in your mind basic foundations of 3D objects. Again, try to use your imagination, just create simple shapes where the joints would be, and this time can draw a line up just to help as a guide. But the palm here, we're going to be changing the palm direction. So we're going to go from a palm facing up to then rotating it in this direction, okay? Almost like a judo chop action. So that's my Austin Powers quote there. Okay, so again, trying to think about, let me just zoom in. Trying to think about your perspectives, which I will do on another video. There we go. I think that makes sense there. So the thumb would be here now. If you want to do the thumb, think of a tube again, but then just go up to the knuckle. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Just do the thumb, and of course you'll have the thumb pad somewhere there in the arm. It's amazing just how lovely and simple you can create just a few lines, and it should straight away tell you exactly what part of the human body that is. Nice little tricks to try. Don't get too wrapped up in the detail. This is not about detail, it's just trying to understand the perspective of your arm in different angles. Now it's really interesting how the forearm, these two bones, the radius and the ulnar, overlap each other. If they couldn't overlap, you wouldn't be able to twist your arm. Okay, so think of your perspective. Think of, actually, sorry, let me just add in another tube here. So the tube is going in this direction. Okay. Now, but then we've got a tube down here. It's going in this direction. Now, a bit like the twist of the boxes and the soft areas from my last video, you have to try to think of point A to point B. Now, point A here is still connected to point B here. So you've got to follow that line, not lose track. So it's still connected in this way. So there isn't really an overlap at this point, but there is a twist going on. Draw in the radius. If you want, you can create some curves to help with defining the perspective you're drawing in. Okay, they're very useful. You can flare out the radius a little at the wrist and down here to give a little bit of character. Here comes the ulnar. You can bend it slightly, make it a little bit more bone-like. You can apply some artistic license if you like, but try to keep it simple. Again, create those nice curves. Okay. If you want, you can create some shadow to show what's in the background, what's in the foreground, even if it's just by a few centimeters. Help define you what's slightly further away from your view. Okay. Here as well. Same with the palm. So the palm will be in shadow. Okay. And you can draw the fingers there. Like this. Okay, so that's number 2. Now this is really when it gets quite interesting. There's a little bit of transition, but not too distorted by this point. Again, let's draw it again. Repetition is really good. Drawing the same thing again and again to try and improve your muscle memory. So that as you later progress, you won't need to create these foundations, they just become automatic in your mind. Create some composition line like that. Centralize the direction you're going in, create a cylinder again. A little bit of X-ray goggles going on so you can see everything in the inside. Center it there. This is now in the way. Although I can actually conveniently now use that tube as the wrist if I wanted to, but no, I can't actually. let's rip that out, it's in the way. Yeah, because what we're going to do now, we've gone from relaxing palm, judo chop, and now we're going to go this way, showing the back of the palm. So essentially we're going back to the stage one. So this time join up to create the tube for the wrist. This time the thumb's going to be on the inside because we've rotated. Okay. I like to center my lines like that just to create a nice guide for myself. Okay, by this point there's now a full overlap of the radius here. The radius is now overlapping, but it's still attached on the left hand side. It's now gone over to the right hand side. Let's try and demonstrate this. So a bit like the previous video, going from point A, which is now on the other side, back to point B, which is on its original side. Okay? And then try and draw in those tubes, the radius. Think about those nice curves. Okay? And the ulna on the inside. Okay. You might find there's probably a bit more of a curve here. Let me just correct that. Okay, but you get the idea. It's good fun. When it comes to, say, if you were going to draw a realistic arm, you're not going to see much of this. You're only going to see the subtle muscles and the lines, and the rest of it just be flesh. But it's just really fun to know where all the bones, in this case simple forms and shapes, would be. A little added bit of information as well. When this arm is relaxed, the bicep is by and large further up towards the shoulder, and as you start to twist, you might notice when you start to twist, let's see if we can show it here. See how my bicep suddenly goes from up, and then I twist, and then it shoots down. A little detail probably to think of. So the bicep is going to shoot off that way and go and further into the elbow. Because with that arm being pulled up, you would consider this bicep, sorry, I'm going slightly off topic here. You see how this is the bicep is now activated. That's an activated muscle. And then this is when it becomes progressively more relaxed. So, but anyway, the main topic of this video is to just be aware of the radius, which is here. Radius is R-A-D-I-U-S, and the ulna, it's a strange name, U-L-N-A. Those things overlap when you twist, okay? Might be useful to you if you're doing a skeleton or a zombie or even a robot, but these are very fun exercises to practice with, And I think it will eventually give you a little bit of a foundation when you start drawing arms. So hopefully this will lead from also the short that I did that did the 3 muscle groups on the top part of the arm, the bicep, tricep and the scapula. So hopefully this will lead on into this. So I'm going to leave it there, and I want to thank everybody so far. My subscription is really climbing, and yeah, I'll leave it there and have a good day. Thank you.